The following program is powered by Ride the Wave Media.
Introducing the best podcast in Utah, Radio Daybreak. Here are your hosts, Just Plain and Bex.
Oh yes, Bex. We're here, and if you're watching, here is at Biscott's.
You know where you're at if you're a Daybreaker.
You got it.
Right? Yes. Right here at the hub at Biscott's.
Thanks to Prakash for having us out here. Now we're doing things a little bit different this time, though.
Yeah.
Because our guest on today's show actually showed up.
She's here.
She showed up to the DBC today.
Yes, she did.
At Biscott's, at Prakash's place.
Yes.
I want to make an announcement though, because the DBC, the Daybreak business community, we're moving next week.
That's right.
We're at Harmon's upstairs.
Yes.
So
Daybreak
come out there.
Harmon's, North Shore,
Oh.
upstairs will be in the, what did we decide? Southwest corner.
That's it. So that's
Second floor.
1 p.m. on Wednesday, April the something.
know.
First Wednesday in April. I don't have the date.
First
We're
Wednesday,
not at
first winter.
first Wednesday, first winter. But today's guest is Michelle Orton.
Yes.
Related to Randy Orton. We
Yeah.
established that in the interview. Michelle, what's your website again?
It's Michelle, Michelle, Orton, ORTON /realcoaching.com.
There it is.
Awesome.
And we'll make sure that link is in there.
Thank you.
We don't normally do this. We don't talk to our guest after we've already interviewed our guest.
I feel elevated, you know.
But I love it because
It's the throwdown. It's the Randy.
this
Yeah,
is the it's
that's
oh
right.
what's your wrestling name? You got a wrestling name out there, or
Oh my
need one.
gosh.
what would it be?
Thrasher.
Ooh.
Thrasher. I want to be a thrasher.
Thrasher.
Just destroy, eliminate, and
I
Thrasher.
like
I'm
that.
coming out of the ashes.
Wreck everything and
Ooh,
leave.
I love that.
Yes. Yes.
What would yours
yes.
be, Bex?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know.
Oh, come on. Dig deep.
Come on, get
Dig
one.
deep.
Ooh.
She
Bone
can't-
Crusher?
The Bone Crusher. All right, we got the Bone Crusher and Thrasher out here.
Nice.
All right, this has been
Oh
great.
my gosh.
But
Wait,
now,
you didn't give us your wrestling
Oh, yeah,
name.
yeah.
but I was actually a pro wrestler, so
Well,
I don't have.
know, but what's
Well,
your
what
name?
I went
it?
by Blaze. I was Blaze. I was the
Oh,
Hollywood
right.
Psycho.
All right.
The Hollywood Psycho Blaze. I came out in not your normal tights. I came out in prison garb, and I usually had a
Nice.
policeman escort me to the ring. Well, see, I'm a smaller dude, so I was in there wrestling 6'5". These guys, these giants. So I had to come out there with a different
Blazing.
character. Well, I wasn't blazing at the time. I came out in like prison
What's
garb,
your kind of
and
blaze?
I acted all crazy. It was
Not
wild.
quite 420.
So yeah, exactly. Wasn't that kind of blaze? Not yet. That was later on in life. But that was my wrestling name. Let's get to this interview before we keep talking
Let's
about this.
do it.
Goodness. Thank you. All right, Bex, we're here with our guest, Michelle Orton. She says that she's related to Randy Orton, the professional wrestler. You guys just had dinner the other night, you said, right?
We did. It was a throwdown. So
Yes.
it was successful. It was
I love it. I love
who
it. So,
won. I gotta know who won out of that match.
yeah, right.
Real scrappy. Yep.
So Michelle, what I hear from Bex is that you're a trauma coach. Now is that right? What is that?
Correct. Well, I am a life coach, a trauma coach, a relationship coach, and a grief coach.
Okay, so hold on. I got to stop you right there because I thought that was all the same thing. You're telling, is that different?
Absolutely.
Tell
Yeah.
me the differences. I want to hear about that.
Well, first of all, life is going to take in all of those elements, and to go to one coach that can handle everything that life is going to throw at you, I think is a benefit. So being a life coach, maybe you're just having a little bit of bumps and bruises. You just need a little bit of improvement, some guidance, some accountability. You're just wanting to navigate a little bit. Then you come to me. If you want something a little bit more, then we go into trauma. Trauma is some of the heavier, deeper stuff, divorce, childhood trauma, something that really rattled your cage and took you down to your ashes. And then we help you kind of rise from that and understanding what trauma does to your brain. And then grief is a sacred space that I love to walk with because I don't think it needs to be as heavy and as sad and as overwhelming as we make grief. Grief is a beautiful transition. And if we honor it the right way, it honors our loved one, whoever passed on, the right way. And then I teach them what it does to their brain and how it rewires your brain. And then relationships, because relationships are hard as hell.
Oh, but all kinds though, right? We're not just talking about like an intimate relationship with your significant other. You're talking about business relationships, all types of relationships, right? They're all hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you have to talk to a human, you're in a relationship.
Yeah. I
Hey,
like that.
I use a lot of AI, and I feel like I'm in a relationship with it sometimes when you're chatting back and forth. That's a whole other topic. Don't get me started on the AI stuff. So
Maybe AI coach is the next thing Michelle's going to
Hey.
add to her list.
yeah,
I'll be a real life AI that has feelings, emotion, compassion, and knowledge, and a little bit of so yes. But thanks for welcoming and letting me be a part of this, Blaine and Bex. I really appreciate this opportunity to shed some light on what it means to be a coach, because it is totally separate than a therapist. And I think there are so many layers to coaching, and it gets kind of misunderstood. So
Yeah, and I know. Yes, and exactly. With that being said, I know, we were being lighthearted earlier, but what you do is actually life-changing
Yeah.
for a lot of people. And I want you to dive in. I know that there's a story of a homeless man that you actually coached, and I want you to just share that story briefly with us and the impacts that you had in his life.
oh, it is such a great story. Thanks for letting me share it. So
Yeah.
I had the opportunity. I lived in St. George at the time, and I was volunteering at their homeless shelter. And every week I taught a life skills class just to help them get back
Mm.
in basic information to when they're coming out of prison or out of a rehab, and they just need a little bit more. So this guy, he comes to my class, and he was very enthusiastic. He was raising his hand, asking a lot of questions. He was participating. He was phenomenal. And he came up at the very end. He says, "So you're a coach?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I'd like to hire you." And I said, "I don't think you can afford me." He said, "Well, I just got off the bus from purgatory. I have 50, and that's all I have." And I said,
He had, hold on, that cut out right there. I want to hear that. He had what?
52 cents,
Oh.
52 cents. And I said, "You can't afford me." I said, "So you're going to have to earn it." And so I know what they had to do during the week to live at the shelters. There's certain chores and community service and helping stock the kitchen and cleaning. And you have to go out and do stuff in the community. And so I said, "You have to do double what everyone else does, and then come back and talk to me."
Mm.
Wow.
So he came back in 2 weeks, and he showed me his little card, and he doubled it. And
Oh.
and I hire you now. And I says, "Well, do you have more money?" And he says, "No, I only have 52 cents. And I says, "Okay, well, this is going to be the most expensive coaching I've ever done."
Wow.
So I did the coaching, and during the process, what I think this really catapulted my career is because I figured out what people really need.
Mm.
He lost who he was, because when
Mm.
the system and you become just a number
Mhm.
throughout our society, throughout history, where people become just a number or a mark, and that gets ripped away from him. So I asked him who he was, and he says, "Well, I was an inmate, I
Mm.
was a drug addict, I committed this crime." And I says, "No, those are things you did. Who are you?
Yeah.
Want to know who you are." And so really, when we started to dig in, and he understood that he has an identity,
Yeah.
and he understood that he had worth, and he understood that I saw him as a complete human with potential. And then finally one day, we're probably about 4 sessions into it, and I said, "Who are you?" And he said, "You know what? I'm real.
Yeah.
Feel
Wow.
everything." And he said, "And I want to start a company." And I said, "Awesome. What's the name of your company?" And he said his company was called WOW, World of Wines. And he wanted to own a wine tasting company, and he wanted to travel to Italy, and he wanted to get a degree. And that's what his goal was. And I said,
Oh
"Okay,
my word.
this moment forward, every time somebody says, 'Who are you?' or 'What do?' You own that title,
Yeah.
that you are the owner of this company. So how would you walk? How would you speak? What was What would be the words you use? How would you dress? What would you drive? And I said, I want you to put yourself into all of that right now. Skip forward 6 years. He graduated with a master's degree. He owns a restaurant. In the back of his restaurant, he has a room called Wow. And he did end up getting
Oh,
a table. So it just reminded me at the beginning of my career, what people really want is to understand who they are
Hmm.
without labels. And as soon as he understood that he was real and he had power to change, then he can step into something that he could create, which was this business. And I'm super, super proud of him.
That's awesome. So when
but
you help redefine somebody's identity, because that's what you're doing, you're redefining their identity
true
and helping
identity.
them see their true identity. When he said real, I get that. I understand that. You're not just approaching this like from a coaching perspective. It's more of you're looking at it, each individual, and you're tailoring something towards what they're looking for. And it's not you just going through a textbook, right?
No,
Yeah.
no. I love that you said that. Absolutely. They're individuals. And everyone is their own beautiful, rare creation. And that's what makes us unique. We're all human, but we're all individuals. And so everyone who comes, that's why I like to have diversity in my coaching, because everyone's needs and what they're going to need help navigating or handling or, debunking is completely tailored to them.
Mm.
Yeah.
And remind me, Michelle, you've been doing this for how many years have you been coaching now?
18, almost 19. It'll be 19 years this summer. A
Oh
lot.
my word.
So it's a career that I've been very, very passionate about. And I have loved and sitting in this seat. And I feel very humbled and honored that I've got to help so many people, which more honestly, they help me. Every time I
Yeah.
get into coaching, I'm like, oh yeah, I needed that. I'm glad they were there to listen, but I really needed that. So apparently I'm in therapy or coaching for 18 and a half years. But yeah, so when coaching started to become really popular a couple of years ago, I'm like, what? I worked so hard. I got my certification through a program at Stanford,
Mm.
and I've had learning ever since. I've never stopped taking classes, and so these little weekend coaching courses that they take and become a coach, it just drives me crazy. So,
Mm.
but I love that anyone is willing to sit in a position to help somebody else. So I love that that's available, but I do think that it's important that there is kind of some really solid anchoring to their education in order to help people the right way.
Yeah.
Now, when you
And
go ahead,
go ahead.
Bex, go ahead. No, you
Oh,
got it.
I
You
was
got it.
just gonna say, and you've done a lot in those 18 years with your coaching. I wanted to touch on just a little thing about TEDx. You had a TEDx talk.
Ah.
I did. I didn't know you knew that, so I'm kind of
I did.
yeah, good. So yes, I was privileged enough to be able to stand on a TEDx stage in St. George. It was one for women and what women have overcome and trauma that women have gone through. And I was able to tell my story about overcoming childhood trauma.
Mm.
And it was an incredible experience to share the stage with a whole bunch of powerful women. But that was, probably 8, 9 years ago. It was very intimidating, but very exciting, and it was an amazing opportunity to shed light on something that was a dark shadow in my past
Mm.
and make it be something light and bright, which you can
Mhm.
trauma. So when you own the story and share the story and you see how it changes somebody else's light, it makes that dark seem a little bit less dark and it just gleams a little bit of hope for somebody else, which makes trauma light.
Mm.
I really love that. We, as you know, had the International Women's Day
Yes.
Month.
podcast, which
We
you
had
were
the
a
whole
part.
month.
Yes, you did so great. Kudos to you. But Blake and I have been continuing our shows, with females and kind of continuing that through this month. And earlier this month, we talked to another guest who had had some very traumatic experiences as well and had to discuss that and even publicly, which was very challenging with the
Mm.
situations that she went through. And really, kudos to you for doing that, because so many more women need to hear those stories. And I won't say just women, individuals.
Oh, we lost her.
Uh-oh.
Let's
Yeah.
just we'll just let her stop right there, and then I've been bringing her back in. I don't know what's happening with her connection, so hang tight.
Okay.
Sorry, guys, my internet today.
I know, just pick right back up right there, and I'll
So many
splice it.
individuals really need to hear that, and the power that comes from those stories, that, they see somebody else who have gone through those moments, and it gives them hope.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of that trauma and therapy, and, moving forward, is they see that others can do it, and it gives them, even if it's just a little bit of hope in those very dark times.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I gotta ask you something though big, because you said you've been doing this for 19 years. Is that what you said? 19, somewhere almost 2 decades.
Yes.
You do a great job of balancing the differences in the types of coaching, but how do you listen to these stories for 20 years and keep yourself balanced and not fall into, oh my God, that's the worst thing I've ever heard? You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be taxing at some point on you mentally to hear a lot of this stuff. How do you cope with that,
That is a question that I get quite often, and it's something that I actually teach my clients, and it's something I had to teach myself. So
Mm.
when I enter into a coaching, I have kind of like a routine or a ritual, just like if you were a pro athlete,
Yeah.
my cousin Ray and I. So the same, like if you go into the ring. And so when I go into my office, I have a spot and I tap it, and then actually it's right here. I hold this rock and I put everything in here, all the energy, good, bad, positive, whatever it is. I hold it in there and I sit in that space with them, and whatever that space is. And when I'm done, I tap the wall and I give it all to the rock. And I literally walk out, and I'll see somebody on the street and they're like, "Oh, do you remember when we talked about that?" And I'm like, "Nope." My rock will. But I have learned just to separate and use certain tools. So I use the rock, I use the tapping, sometimes I use music. I do need to decompress after some of the heavier ones and to honor what emotions that are coming to my body. So
Mhm.
myself, this is the sensation my body's feeling. This is the emotion I'm feeling. And then I tell myself, well, what do I want? I want to hold it for them, or I want to release it, or I need to journal it, or I need to do something. But I use a tool, and it takes me 3 to 5 minutes depending on what the situation is. But I've just become accustomed to it, and it's a privilege. It's really a privilege to hear people's
Yeah.
stories, because like what you talked about, stories is what connects. And since the beginning of time, they would sit around a campfire, and then they would write the stories on cave walls, and then there
Yeah.
was sonnets and songs and plays and music. It's connection. So I just feel honored that someone wants to connect and they trust me and they feel safe. So I,
Mm.
I just have a little system, and it works, and it's beautiful.
How,
And
did you come up with that, or did that get passed down to you? Like, how did you come up with that for you?
tell you the truth, I read a story about this guy. He had a very stressful job, and when he came home, his wife was complaining about how negative he was and how hard he was to have dinner with, and he was just grumpy and ornery. She says, "Can't you just leave the stuff at the front door?" And he's like, "You know what? You're right." So every day when he came home from work, he'd say, "I'm just leaving the stuff at the front door," and he tapped the front door, and I'm like, and he said it worked. It was just an article I read, and I said, "Does that really work?" And it does. And so I decided to follow suit, and I just have this certain spot that I tap, and I just leave it there, and it holds it. And when I tap it, I can feel it come back into me. So something I learned probably 15 years ago, because
Wow.
before
Wow.
I
it, I didn't know how to hold all this energy and emotions from people. So I was really grateful that I read this story and adapted this one simple tool.
That's incredible. So if you're
Yeah.
pan the camera over right now to that spot, 15 years of tapping, I bet there's like a giant hole in the wall, right? Like, just no
Well, and
kidding.
all the emotion there, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's got to be just a giant, just a or it's been patched a bunch, or she's got like
Yeah,
a
exactly.
just pure concrete over there. Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
my iPad to move every 2 years. I just knocked down the walls.
Knocked the whole
I've moved 32 times and that the true reason because I just shattered walls.
she's moved 32 times, Beck. She just missed that because your
Wow.
internet dropped out again, but it's okay. 32 times because she keeps knocking the walls down. That's
Oh
what she
my
said.
gosh. I bet, Michelle. Oh my
That's not
goodness.
the problem. It's
Hey,
good.
Michelle,
I'll just keep knocking walls down with people.
this has been incredible. First of all, where can we find you
Yeah.
before we let you go? Because yeah,
So my website or my Michelle Orton realcoaching.com, and you can find me there. And my phone number is, you can give that out also. It's 435-215-3013.
alrighty, we
Wonderful.
appreciate this. Bex, you got anything else for her?
I don't. Do you have anything else that you would like our listeners to hear, Michelle? Anything upcoming or exciting or any
Yes.
announcements you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am excited. This summer, I am hosting what's called Warrior Weekends, and they are going to be retreats, but they're different than normal retreats. Retreats, I love. It's usually where you go and you get pampered and you get to be cocooned and you get your old blanket and do your yoga and do your breathing. And it's really important to have that sacred space, but this is not. If you
Mm,
want to come to mine is a warrior weekend. It's like survivor weekend. You're going to learn tactical, real life. Here's a bug out bag. We're going to test your skills. We're going to face all of your fears and we're going to level you up. I want you to rise. I want you to walk through fear and come out the other side. So when we go through something hard like the pandemic or something in your life hits you, you're like, hey, I know how to rise up. I know how to handle this because I just
I've
went through
done hard.
72 hours where I chose to sit in the hard and I chose
Wow.
to go through it the best of my ability. And so
mm,
we're going to have these, going to be June, July, and August, and part of September. I have this beautiful property that is up near Lava Hot Springs. So
Mm.
we learn survival skills, but there's also going to be interesting things like the plants, what you can do with plants, how to eat them, body paint, tie dye, but you're also going to learn how to throw axe and tie knots. And then there's going to be amazing coaching, individual, group. But if you've seen the movie Survivor, that's what my camps are. So it's going to
Wow.
be absolutely a phenomenal summer. We're going to have relationship ones, trauma ones, grief ones, and just regular life to help you handle life. So that's my exciting summer. I'm super, super excited about it.
I love that. Now, Survivor, that's not the one where the last person living gets all the money, is it? That's not one of those battle royale type movies.
Yeah, we're gonna battle, but I want everyone to not survive because I don't like the word survive because survive means you're just like crawling across the line and you're still breathing. I want you to be victorious. I want you to know that you've won and you become a warrior and you are living in this different state of being victorious. So that's what our survivor camp's going to be, is to get you out of survivor mode and get you into warrior mode.
And information on that can be found at
That
michelleorton-realcoaching.com.
that is coming. We're still
Okay.
building the website and the landing page, but it will be announced on my website when I
Perfect.
complete it. Hopefully in about 2 weeks.
Awesome.
Yay. So excited. We'll be watching for that.
Yeah. Thanks so much,
Michelle,
Michelle. Yeah.
so great to have you on the show. Thank you so very much for sharing and diving into those, sometimes tough topics for people to talk about and do what you do. It's fantastic. Blaine, what did you have to add?
That's it. We're good.
Thank you, Michelle.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me.